120 watts? Just 120 watts? Not 119, not 121, 120. Well, we'll see though how that works out. It chucks clouds. Let's dive down and open up the SMOK TFV16, and they've labelled this Return of the King. On the side of the box you've got the contents and the scratch and sniff label. On the back you've got some information, some user warnings, and this is the importer package or the reviewer package. And then on the side there's a bit of promotional information about the TFV16. Let's get this box opened and I'll just whip through the contents really quickly. So first of all, you've got your user warranty card, you've got your manual, and look at all this, just to fill a tank and change a coil. But it's useful information regardless, and there's some warnings on the back. It's there for you if you want to read it. Let's move on. Then you've got a vape band, quite big and chunky. And then you've got some seals, replacement O-rings, and a spare straight glass, not a bubble glass. And then you've got a 0.12 dual coil. Let's quick look at this. I'll come back to them. Just want to show you all around it, and the base plate, how it connects, the mesh coiling inside, the big openings on the top. Yeah, we'll come back to this and we'll have a look at it in a moment. So the tank itself, it's 94 grams in weight and it's 27 millimeters wide by 59.5 millimeters tall. It's got a pre-installed 0.017 coil, but we'll look at those in a moment. At the top you've got a resin drip tip, which is a sleeve style drip tip, and it's very nicely done. I'm quite happy with the drip tip actually. I would like to have been able to have put my own on there, but I like it a lot. And moving on, just push that back down. Moving on, you've got the SMOK locking mechanism, and as you open up you'll notice that there is no grommet there in the top, but if you flip it over you will see that they put the grommet there. I don't know how much that's going to swell over time and probably get in the way. And then you've got your large kidney fill port. So it's quite nicely done. Nice child safety locking mechanism. On the bottom you've got TFV16 designed by SMOK, a static pin, so shouldn't be used on hybrid mechs. Then you've got your adjustable airflow, two massive airflow slots, one on each side. Whatever opens on one side opens on another. There we go. So let's open up the tank. Quite stiff, but you'd expect it to be with it being new. I would suggest any time that you get a new tank is take it apart and just apply a bit of e-juice to the O-rings. Just makes it easier to open up. Very clean, no oil, no residue on the machining. And as you can see, it's quite hard to put the glass back on. I probably should put a bit of juice on it, but it'll be fine. And then you've got the pre-installed 0.17 coil, and as it states on there that you should be using this at 120 watts, and put this side by side with the 0.12 coil. There's a huge size difference. It really is a big chunky coil, the 0.12, and that's what I'm going to use in a moment. They've put a minimum fill line on here. I'll just zoom in a little bit for you. There you go. Minimum fill line, but on the other coil they haven't included one. But if you put them side by side, you can see that where the juice would go into the coil there, it's about equal with the minimum line. So if you do start to run low on juice, once you get to that point, that line on the thick chunky 0.12 coil, you should be filling it. In other words, the juice isn't getting to the coil efficiently. So I was going to take this out and just have a look at the threads under the coil. I have seen that there's been some issues with putting the coils into this new tank. You've got a brass plated ring here which connects down into the base of the tank. The threads do feel smooth, but they're very, very close threads. And then looking down inside, you've got the 3 pins that connect onto the coil that make contact on that brass plate there. Nice bit of machining. And the threads do feel clean. There's nothing on there, no burrs, no resin, but they're just very, very hard to get to snag. It's quite tight. Yeah. So I'm going to be using the 0.12. I want to chuck some clouds. I want to see how well it works. I'm going to put in some ballistic badgers, apple and lychee. And then to fill it up, we open the top cap, dump the juice in. Now, with the bubble glass on, it holds around 7.5 to 8 mils of juice using the 0.12 coil. But when you use the 0.17 coil, it will hold about 9.5 mils of juice. Now, if you put on the straight glass, it's going to be noticeably less because there's less capacity within the tank itself. You're probably going to get around 4.5 mils worth of juice. So we just close that up, and what we'll do is we'll go back up top. I'm going to try chuck a cloud or two just to show what the capability is of this tank. So I'll see you back up top. If you've stuck around this long, then you're waiting to find out if I like it, love it, loathe it or hate it. Well, I will say straight away that I do like it. It's got some downsides to it, but I'm going to start with the likes first of all. The flavour, it's still really good, even though it's big and it's chunky and I struggled to find a mod that it fits on. It still gives great flavour. Now, the clouds, as you saw, are pretty impressive, I would say. I'm not a cloud blower. I try to be, but I'm not a cloud blower. Based on that, the 2 coils in there are designed to chuck clouds. Now, one coil, it does say, is only meant to be used at 120 watts. Just 120 watts. Not 119, not 121, 120. Well, we'll see though how that works out. I've got in here though the dual coil, which has a nice broader range, and I'm allowed to go between 80 to 160. Well, when I put it onto this mod, which is the Cut 220 from Desire, it detects the ohms or the resistance and it adjusts the wattage, and it wanted to give me 90 watts. Well, 90 watts just felt like I was breathing. So what I did was I upped it to 120 watts and I found it was a really good flavour, but not warm enough for me. So I then bumped it another 10 and I've been running at about 130 watts, give or take, up and down between about 5 or 10 watts. I'm thinking that for the dual, this is a nice range, nice wattage to be vaping at. I'm enjoying it. The clouds are pretty good too. If we're going to look at the other positives of this, it's easy to fill. They've moved the grommet, the seal on the top there. They've put it in the lid, so it doesn't seem to catch as much now when you close the door, which I do like. Another positive is it's got big, wide open airflow. I do like that, but it just feels very gushy. I don't get as much flavour, so I do like to close it off. Probably about a quarter or a third of what it should be, just to increase some of the flavour, and I think that helps. They do include a bubble glass on the top, so it increases, almost doubles the capacity of the juice on the tank. So you've gone from 4.54 mils of juice with a straight glass up to about 9.5 mils of juice, depending on which coil you're using. Which leads me on to, because the dual coil is so much thicker and fatter, you lose about 1 mil, 1.5 mils of juice. That capacity is gone. Is it noticeable? No, I don't care. I really don't care. If I'm going to go through juice anyway really quickly, I'm going to make sure I've got a bottle with me. I'm going to top up as I go. Which leads me on to the coils. I have to say that the threads are very, very clean. They are tidy. There's no grease, there's no burrs. But the problem being is when you're putting the coil into the base, it's hard to screw it in. It's hard to get it to catch because the threads are so narrow. Now, the other way that you can do this is to screw it into the top half first. Once you've screwed it into the top and then screw the whole thing down onto the base, that is a little bit easier to catch. You've got more pressure you can apply to the actual coil without hurting your fingers. The edges are quite sharp on the coil, so you do have to be careful, and doing it that way you're keeping your fingers off the coil at the same time. The drip tip, it is their own drip tip, and it's just a sleeve that sits on the top. I would have liked or preferred to have seen an 810 compatible hole there, and what they've done is they've increased that chimney size to allow for the sleeve to go on top, as you can see, and I think that can reduce some of the flavour, but I wouldn't know unless I've tried one without that extra chimney size on the top. It isn't hybrid compatible. The tank doesn't have really a protruding pin. It is barely noticeable, so don't even attempt to put this on any mechs or hybrid devices. You shouldn't be doing that anyway, but especially with this. Doing some shopping around using your Google fingers, I found that you can pick this up on Heaven's Gifts for about $30, and on UK sites the cheapest that I could find was £23, £23.18 if I remember correctly, and that was a deal, but it ranges up to about £30. So £30, $30 for a pretty good cloud chucking tank. I think it really is the Cloud King. I've been Graham, this has been Vape Underground, and this has been the TFV16 VTF TTV Cloud King from SMOK. I've really enjoyed using this. I'm not a big fan of tanks, but I thoroughly am enjoying it. Please like, please subscribe, let me know in the comments what you think of the tank. Is it something you'd like to try yourself? Hopefully we'll see you all soon. Remember, vape responsibly. And this has been the TFV16 or TVF or TVVTTF Tango Foxtrot. This tank has been the Cloud King.